What's up, guys? My name is Hannah Aleene, and today we are here to talk about what the title of the video says. I'm here to talk about like two diagnoses that I have, my autism and my dyspraxia. Very interesting, fun little topic that I would like to share with you guys. So let's get into the convo. So to start this off, I wanted to tell you guys a little joke I told my mom the other day. Basically, I trip over my own feet, forget what I'm saying mid-sentence, and can't figure out how to hold a conversation. I'm literally playing life on hard mode with no tutorial. Ridiculous! Autism and dyspraxia, let's get into it. First, let me tell you guys, I guess, the definitions, and then we'll dive into it more. The gist of autism, I feel like a lot of us do know about autism, and it affects everybody differently in different ways. For me, it affects like some sensory things and some social interactions and certain things. It affects people in multiple different ways, and it's different levels, and it fluctuates for everybody, and it's different for everybody. But for me, it's mostly like social and sensory. And the gist of dyspraxia, I never fully understood the most of it, but majority it is that my coordination is just like god awful, whether it be hand-eye coordination or like walking or whatever. Like I'm basically diagnosed clumsy as fuck. So isn't that so fucking fun? Diagnosed awkward as hell and clumsy as hell. God damn. And like with my dyspraxia, my brain and my body, they're not always like perfectly communicating. They're like a toxic couple. So doing like simple things like cutting, like, I don't know, an apple or a potato or something, or like tying something or whatever is like the most difficult task I could do. It makes it so difficult. Like just like something so simple as that is like such a hard task for me, surprisingly. I got diagnosed with autism. That was my first diagnosis unlocked when I was 4 years old. And I got diagnosed with that comorbidly with ADHD as well. So 4 years old, a little girl, was at the early 2000s, like a super early 2000s. I got diagnosed with autism and ADHD. At the time, it was Asperger's spectrum disorder. No, at the time it was just Asperger's syndrome. And yeah, if you know, you know, we don't fuck with Asperger's anymore. It's not even in the DSM anymore. So now it's autism spectrum disorder. And that, I fuck with that a lot more. Even before then, I was like, autism. Because just Asperger's is... Anyway. And then I got recently diagnosed with dyspraxia about like a year and a half ago from my current therapist. I was just telling her a lot of these things, and I don't know if it's like exactly diagnosed, but like she was like, yeah, that definitely seems like, it wasn't like properly diagnosed, but it was like discussed with like a professional I have in my life, and she like confirmed it. So I don't know if that's like professionally diagnosed or like, I don't know. When it came to schooling throughout my entire life, I've always had either an IEP or a 504 plan. I only had a 504 plan for like a year, and they're like, you know what, let's get her back on an IEP. And they were right. I needed that. Definitely my autism has always made me like a very like different kid. Kids really didn't, people really didn't like me a lot because I don't know, I guess with autism, it's like this kind of uncanny valley thing that I've noticed, that they're like, something's off and I can't tell what it is, and I don't like them for whatever is off. And it's kind of like that with me. I remember oh God, was this like first grade? I was in a school in Orange County before I went to my schools that I went to for a longer period of time. And I was new to the school because we kept moving all the time, and I was new to the school. And they had me in the IEP program already, and there was this like program at the school for like the IEP kids who had a harder time making friends, where they would like have a buddy program, and they would put like new buddies with them so they could try to make buddies, and like the buddies in the program would be like older kids, like I was in first grade, and then the buddies could be like from fourth or fifth grade, or like maybe third grade. Who knows? I don't fully remember, but I remember I was I was the one student that had so many like different buddies that kept changing fast because none of the buddies even liked me. I remember one of the buddies, they like signed up for it because they like wanted to like sign up and get in good graces with something. And I was like, oh my God, yes, I'm in the buddy program. It is so hard for me to make friends. Thank you, special ed teacher, or thank you, buddy program teacher, for involving me in this. And I was always so eager and so excited. And then whenever they'd hang out with me, they'd hang out with me one time. And then whenever it's their next time to like hang out with me and be my buddy, they would they would like they would like show up, sign in, and do their thing, and then I'd be sent off with them at like recess or lunch. Um, and then they would tell me to leave them alone and to stop following them, and that I'm a weirdo freak. I'm like, what did I do? So with that, I felt like very, very isolated, especially at that school. I learned quickly to just like be on my own. Like in first grade, I remember I was bullied a lot, surprisingly. Like a lot of people were like just really mean to me. And I remember a lot of the boys at that school were mean to me, and just like people were really mean to me. And then we moved to Riverside County in California, to the school I stayed at throughout second to fifth grade. And people were like, like I was still very awkward there, but it was easier for me to make friends there for some reason. I don't know why. But even the friends I did have, they like bullied me behind the scenes instead of my face at that point. And it was really hard. And then when I got to middle school, when everybody started like kind of like getting into their hormones and getting into their like relationships and starting to like find out new stuff about themselves, I I just was also different in that sense because I was still growing up with them. I matured a lot earlier than everybody. I started my period in like 6th grade, but I started getting like a chest in like I think 4th grade. I started wearing a training bra in 4th grade, but this has nothing to do with that. But I always felt so like left out. Like all these girls I were friends with, we would go to sleepovers, and all the other girls were talking about like boys, and they would call boys, and they would be like, "Oh, you will look good with him. You should go date him. You should do this and this and this." And I would just be sitting there like watching on the sidelines. Like I'd be there, but they wouldn't like, I don't know, incorporate me in the boy and the romance stuff. And I'm like, I'm always just like, what about me? And a lot of being autistic and growing up, I really felt like alone. Like I really felt so alone. And honestly, a majority of it, I kind of wanted to be alone for a majority of it, but I feel like being a girl who's autistic is a lot more different than being a guy who's autistic. Um, because for me, I love the idea of pop culture and celebrities and music and all that, and like popularity, and I'm like, that seems so cool. I wanted to fit in with the girls and everybody else. I really wanted to fit in, so I would try to mask. I would try to put on this like different version of myself and try to learn and teach myself social cues that other people don't need to learn, that they just pick up on right away and be like, got it. For me, I had to like teach myself. I have to read a script or write a script in beforehand and like script out conversations with people, and I still do that to this day. And even I'm at this point in my life, I am trying not to mask all the time, and I'm like trying to be my authentic self. And that's why on my social media platforms, I really prioritize being authentic, because I think that is so important. Being your authentic self is such an important thing. So that's something I've always um, felt really important. Was now I'm like, okay, I've spent so many years hiding who I am, being ashamed of who I am, and I'm just tired of it at this point. So I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna be my authentic self. I am just gonna put my autistic ass out there and get what I want. And like, not my literal ass, like, I'm not, this isn't OnlyFans, but I'm gonna put myself out there as autistic and authentic as I can be. And if you guys don't accept me, then you don't accept me, and that's fine. Like, you don't have to accept me. I've learned a lot of things over life, and I feel like I'm still learning a lot of things that people like take naturally or get naturally. Like, I'm learning a lot. Um, there are certain things I do because of my dyspraxia that are so different from other people. Like, I get scared to go on dinner dates in front of people, or eating something where I have to like cut in front of them because I can't cut a steak properly. Like, I know the motions, I'm like, but like, no, like you have to hold it, and then how do you it it's just really hard. And honestly, like, a lot of the hand coordination stuff, it literally feels like so wrong in my wrists. And I've always been like that. Like, I still do it and I still try the best I can, but sometimes it literally feels like torture at times. Like, if I'm like sweeping or like vacuuming or something, I'm like, that doesn't feel right. Like, it just feels like, or like cutting something, it just feels like wrong in my wrists. So I did want to dive in talking about like the sensory aspect of my autism though, because that has always been like a major, 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 major thing for me. Sensory stuff and sensory overload hits really hard for me. Sensory as in like sight, sound, what the fuck are the other things? Touch, feel, sense, whatever here. I probably said sound, yeah, I did. Like that, like the way certain things feels on my hands or in my mouth, or smell, or taste, or sound, or look, like you hear those TikToks of people saying like the fluorescent lights at Walmart or like grocery stores like kill me like that. I like it's so hard for me to go to grocery stores because that fluorescent light is so hard. Like even right now with my ring light, like that's why I'm like always in like a mood light at home. But right now, like when I film, I like try to suffer. That's why I usually try to film during the day, but when I have to film at night, I'm like I get through it, but afterwards I'm like darkness. Um, that's one thing, and then a big one that has always affected me my whole life was fireworks, and it still is fireworks. And I used to call it a fear, and I always was like, I'm gonna face my fear, and I'm like, oh, it is not a fear. You're gonna have sensory overload. Just the noise of the fireworks and just like all of it is just so overwhelming. My family used to go to baseball games all the time in the summer because our town had like a minor league stadium, like a minor league team. So we would always, always, always be going to baseball games. And every Friday and every opening day, like when like opening of the season, they would have like these giant fireworks show at the end. If they won, which was like every Friday because my team rocked. They would always do fireworks. And I always remember um, my mom having to take me out as we got towards the last inning, and she would take me to the parking lot. And like, I don't know why, I don't know if they bought me like earplugs or anything, but my mom, she would take me to the parking lot of the car and put me in the car and like close the doors, turn on the AC, like turn on the radio and blast it. Because the radio was fine, but fireworks were not, and just told me to look at the other end and like not face that way. My mom would like stand next to the car so she can watch the fireworks. It was so funny. And then like my dad and my siblings would all watch the fireworks from the stadium, but me, I would be like, oh no. I would like panic and freak out and jump and being little, like even now, even now I still freak out at fireworks. Like it's like startling, and I don't like it sometimes, and I like freak out sometimes. But even like as a kid, that is obviously way more exacerbated because I'm a little child, so I haven't worked that up at that point. So raw in the fear, so that was hard. And another thing, oh, I mentioned this a lot with the sensory. After I wash my hands or water gets on my hands in any way, wash them, shower, bath, whatever, I always have to put lotion on, and then I have to wait for the lotion to like moisturize in and like go in, settle in, and then wait for that to dry. It's just such a hassle, but I do it because I don't want to be dirty. But I hate the feeling of like dry hands. Like I hate it. I hate it. I hate it so much. Like after I wash my hands, I cannot touch anything. After a shower, I'm like want to jump off a bridge if anybody is trying to tell me to touch a paper. Like you're trying to murder me. Like why would you have me touch anything like paper, cardboard, anything? It's also sometimes with clothes, but sometimes I can get past clothes. Like why would you have me touch anything like that after I just washed my hands or took a shower? You hate me. Like, obviously you hate me. Like, don't do that to me. That's definitely a big one. That's why I'm like, I always have to have lotion on hand now at all times, because if my hands aren't like the normal feeling, or if it's not like moisturized, I this is why I can't shower with anybody, because I will freak out. And not a lot of people like understand like my little weird aspects of me, you know? Also, like texture, I can't eat like certain things like cottage cheese, disgusting. Everybody always roasts me for not being able to like avocado or guacamole, but that shit is hell on earth. One, it tastes bad, and two, just the sensory shit, never. Oh my god, my camera's gonna die. Guys, I am so sorry. My battery last night died, and then my 2 other backup batteries for my camera were dead and were not charged, so I had to charge them. And then by the time one got enough charged, it was like I was exhausted, and I'm like, God, I'm sorry. And yes, I'm wearing the same shirt from last night still, because I'm depressed and don't want to change. Let's get back into the autism talk though. I honestly have no idea what I was talking about last night, so I think I was talking about special interests. That's where I left off. I know when I first got my autism diagnosis, they literally incorporated my special interest at the time in the diagnosis. When I was reading the paperwork over like a couple years ago, I was like, damn, I really was obsessed with that shit. I remember it well. It was the Rugrats. I was obsessed with Rugrats. I think at that time my neighbor lent me and my sister the one of the Rugrats VHS tapes, and we were just watching it over and over again. I was obsessed. I would quote it all the time. I would tell my family about everything I knew about Rugrats. Every time it was on, I had to watch Rugrats. I lived, laughed, loved the Rugrats. And I know in high school I had a hyperfixation, special interest, whatever the fuck, of like boy bands. I really loved boy bands. Like, oh, in 6th grade, my big one was Justin Bieber. I was obsessed with Justin Bieber throughout middle school, obsessed until I found out about One Direction, but my JB love was always and forever there. I love JB. Love you, JB. And then came high school and I got obsessed with One Direction, and then I got introduced to this small little boy band that my best friend at the time knew called I Am 5, and then I was obsessed with I Am 5 for years. Oh my god, I loved I Am 5. I wrote so much fan fiction about them and then One Direction and so much. I just was like, if fangirling was my special interest, like fangirling no doubt was my special interest. This has nothing to do with special interests, but I remember I was so bad at socialization when my family, I think I was in like 4th or 5th grade, we got a new desktop computer, like a new family computer. I was obsessed. I loved computers. I loved everything. I loved the internet. I loved computers so much, and I still do. I really love the internet and computers. So when we got our new desktop computer, it was like, I think it was during winter break or something. And I was like in 4th grade, I think. My cousin was over from Christmas, and her and my sister were playing, and the fucking new desktop arrived, and I was like hugging the desktop computer box. I was like, this is my best friend. I literally was talking about how like the desktop computer that just arrived was my new best friend, because like, listen, computers know me better and I understand computers better than people sometimes. And obviously that's very true still. I did want to get into like the dyspraxia traits and tell you guys about some of them, just so like if you're watching my videos in the future, you know, like if I'm being a weirdo or doing certain things that might be off, that is why, because I know a lot of things we comment on in my videos are like stuff that have to do with dyspraxia. So I'm like, you know what, y'all, maybe I should just tell you guys. So okay, I have a list right here. Okay, one of the major big ones for me is if I'm walking, I can never just walk straight. Like a fucking, like if I were to get like tested for being drunk from a cop or something and I had to walk a straight line and I'd be like 3,000% sober, like never even smelled alcohol, I would fail that bitch, because I genuinely cannot walk straight to save my life. I always am like walking at like some kind of angle, or I'm always like, everybody's walking straight, and then I like somehow start leaning towards them or like walking towards them or bumping into them or something. It's really like I don't know how it happens. But I guess my dyspraxia, so I'm learning a lot about a lot of this still, and I'm like, when I heard that, I was like, that is me to a T. So there's that one. There's a lot of clumsiness with it. So I'm always walking into things 100%. I swear to God, there's in my house, there's like this little bar section that we keep the cat food. I'm always hitting my hip on it, or I'm always hitting my hip on like a table, or I'm hitting like my side on like the wall or the doorway or something. I'm always like running into things. And also dropping stuff is a part of this. I just randomly drop my stuff. I could be holding it and just out of nowhere, just like comes out of my grasp, and I'm like, what the fuck? And this one I'm literally just now finding out. My entire life I've always had terrible handwriting, and I always thought it was just because of my autism, but this is a sign of like dyspraxia. That is like messy handwriting. I swear to God, my handwriting is batshit. So not batshit, but it's bad. It's really bad handwriting. I literally remember one time in 5th grade we had a sub, and I didn't do good with subs. Subs didn't like me and I didn't like subs. So I would always act out and blah, 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 blah. But this one sub where ever since this incident happened, I from then on had to go to the resource room in elementary school every time we had a sub. So I wasn't allowed sub privileges. But it wasn't even my fault. I was writing something. It was in the morning right away. Was writing something, and then the sub was like walking around because we were all doing our assignment. I was writing my assignment. She was walking around, blah blah blah. She gets over to me, and she looks at my stuff, and she's like, "Can your teacher even read that? I can't even read your writing. What are you even writing?" And I just broke down into tears. I was like, "Why? Why would you tell me that?" I didn't know. I was like, "I'm just writing normally," but that made me so sad, and that always made me so upset. So I always knew my handwriting was bad. And I know my handwriting is bad. And that is also why I love computers, because I could type my handwriting. Type what I'm trying to say, not my handwriting. Okay, this one, I swear to God. Difficulty using scissors or cutlery properly. I swear to fucking God, I know I mentioned this earlier. I can't cut shit properly. When I'm eating something, if I can't just cut it with my fork, the side of my fork, and just use the one hand, I'm not eating it. I swear, I I don't know what it is. Like I said earlier, like it just feels awful, and I can't eat with my hands because one, that's dirty, and two, that's dirty. Like I don't want my hands to feel sticky and gross because then I have to go wash my hands and then they're gonna be dry and then I'm gonna freak out if I don't have any lotion. So I'm just like, I'm gonna fucking choke myself. So cutlery is just not it for me. And then scissors, I've never been able to cut a straight line. Never. I know one time when I was working in the mall, I'm not going to say what store because I have beef with them, but I was working in a mall and I was opening the store, like we were like brand new store opening, and I was opening it and we were cutting something for one of the flyers, and they told me to cut it in a straight line, and I was like, you gotta have somebody else do this then because I do not cut in a straight line. And it was like all the like trainers to get ready for the new store opening. I was like, if you want this perfectly straight, you're gonna have to get somebody else because that is not gonna be perfectly straight with me. So there's also directional confusion and spatial awareness issues. 3000%. I think this is why I can't drive. Like, also why I shouldn't drive, because if I'm like driving, well, I never got in this situation, but I know, like, I can't, if I'm looking in the rear view mirror or like the little things on the side, I'm like, and I'm trying to like gauge like how far the car is, like that's behind me, like if I can merge into that lane, I would not be able to do that. I'm like, I can't tell if that's close or far. I just can't figure it out. Like other people can be like, yeah, that's a little too much, or that's, yeah, you're fine. Me, I'm like, fuck if I know. Because like when I'm in the passenger seat, my mom asks me to like look in the whatever the fuck, and to check if like she's good. I'm like, girl, fuck if I know. I see it. I don't know how. I don't know. You know. So another reason I should not be on the road. Honestly, I don't want to drive at this point. Like I wish I could get like a letter or like a note from a doctor that's like, Like, officially diagnosed. Don't let this bitch drive. Please. Oh, this one y'all are gonna clock me on. Any speech and communication struggles. So the first one, talking too fast or talking too slow, 100%. You guys literally just saw this in this video. Early in the first half from yesterday, I was talking really slow and I was really tired, blah, 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 blah. And now I'm talking way fast because that's just how I am. I talk really fast, I talk really slow. It really depends. Mumbling or mixing up words, 1,000%. Like, I swear to God, like, you guys see it when you watch my videos. Like, you see this shit. I'm here, I'm reading it, and you're all probably gonna be like, yeah, that's our girl. Wait, this has to do with memory too. Oh my God. No wonder I'm just a fucking mess. Now I'm like reading this and I'm like, I honestly feel so like validated. Like, my stress and overwhelming feelings about like work and life. Like, sometimes I get so insecure about my feelings and I'm like, oh, I'm just sensitive and I just am a weirdo. But then I'm like, oh, wait a second, girl, you have these things that like make it so it's like that. So just reading these things is really, it's really making me feel better about myself, to be honest. That is crazy. That was most of the list that I just found about dyspraxia, like a lot of the traits for it, and that I got clocked. But what I was saying, oh, I wanted to bring up more about sensory overload because I don't know if I mentioned this earlier in the sensory overload part, but along with the senses, I do get sensory overload. And when I get sensory overload, I get really overwhelmed and I react to it in different ways depending on certain things. But the thing that really is like super triggering for my sensory overload is noise and like lights and all that. My fingers really hurt. I don't know why my fingers hurt so bad right now. I like feel it in my bones. Anyway, one thing that does happen to me though, when I get like super sensory overload, I don't know the exact terminology for it. I used to say it was going nonverbal, but now that I've done more research and nonverbal is like not a thing that like you go in and out of, so I don't really know the term for it. Lately, I've just been calling it like my mute era, just because I don't know what else to call it. So sometimes I get really bad sensory overload, and it's really rare at times, but it does happen, like, and it gets like exacerbated with like, say like I hear like the TV going on, my mom talking on the phone, her TV on, a radio on, music, and like a bunch of different sounds going on at once. And like I'm trying to do something or just at all. And then like the lights are on, adding to it, and it's hot and like all this at once, and then maybe add some pain thrown into there. Like all of those different sensories can like send me into a sensory overload where I'm like in my mute era because I'm like, I can't, like, it took all of like every fucking piece of energy that I have to that I'm going through all that, and it's like taking all of that and it's just like depleting me. So it's like, so it's like I can't, it took all my energy, so I'm like I don't even have like the wherewithal or the energy to like speak, like verbalize. Like I could, like for me, I could text, I could like whatever, but I just get really like tired and I just can't talk, like I just can't vocalize, I can't vocally talk. I don't know, I don't know exactly what it is, and that's always happened to me. That happened to me a lot in elementary school, and I don't think it happened much throughout, like from high school, but it recently, the past, like ever since I was an adult, but like the past like 5 years, it's been happening a lot again. Like just the other day, I was like, I don't know, I was trying to work on something. I think I was trying to edit a video, and then all that just happened at once. TV, editing, music from her. She was on the phone, and she had her TV on, and music, and then she was doing dishes, and then the garbage disposal went off when she was doing the dishes, and and it was like a little warm, and like I think my back was hurting too, and I felt like my brain exploded. I just picked up as much as I could and I like dragged myself to my room and just could not talk. And then she was looking at me and she was trying to talk to me. I'm like, I can't. I just couldn't say anything. I was just like, what the fuck? So that is how. But sometimes sensory overload isn't that extreme. It's not always like I'm going in my mute era. Sometimes it's just like me like getting uncomfortable and like tensing up and um like stimming a little bit, like to like calm myself down. I'm gonna get more stimming toys or whatever because that shit seems so fun and I've never had one. I am feeling like I'm crashing down, not in like a crash out kind of way, like I'm gonna fight somebody, but like I'm crashing down because I'm like, I was hyper this video, now I'm getting tired. So I think that's mostly all I wanted to cover for this video. Thank you guys so much for your patience with this. I know I was supposed to upload this on Monday, but I've been depressed and I've been tired and I am so sorry. But yeah. But I am gonna go. I hope this video did educate you guys on autism and dyspraxia and how it affects me. I don't know why you said it like that. But I am gonna go. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys so much and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!